My name is Trey Stephens, and I have been a diabetic for 41 years, which is abnormal in most situations that people recognize diabetes. After talking or learning that I was a diabetic, everybody be honest, those of you that are female in the room and from the South, what was your first thought? Bless his heart, right? That's what most people say when I tell them I'm diabetic. Oh, bless your heart. I've heard that my whole life. So, next slide, please. What are we going to talk about today? Today, I hope to educate you on what's happening with diabetes, both globally and locally. I am one of 360 million diabetics in the world today. That's a huge number. 30 million, or about a little less than 10%, are in the U.S. 35,000 are in the two counties that most of us live in. So let me ask a favor of all of you. Would everybody in the room please stand up? Okay, the folks in this section right here to my right, would you sit down? So everybody's still standing. The folks that are sitting down represent the 1/3 of the U.S. population that will be diabetic in the next 20 years. Okay, everybody can sit down now that I've got your attention. Next slide, please. This is what the numbers look like over the last 10 years. When I was just about to move back to Northwest Arkansas in the year 2000, there were only 170 million diabetics in the world. Now there's 360 million. You can see China, India, of course the U.S. In most cases, it's more than doubled. Pretty interesting, huh? Next slide, please. The interesting thing about diabetes is, as it grows, 7% of the global population is struggling with diabetes. Families, individuals need support, but that at the individual level grows to the regional and the national level. We don't understand. Everybody thinks they know something about diabetes. In a lot of cases, you may know someone, or you may have someone in your family that has diabetes. I bet some of you folks probably thought when I said I'm diabetic, you probably thought, oh, he can't eat sugar, can't drink, and I'm living proof that you can do all those things. So I've found a way in some of the processes that I hope to share with you today. I've lived my entire life. One of the questions I wanted to ask is, if you think you're going to live to be 75, anyone? 85, 90 plus, some of you 1%ers out there, yeah, you're over here to my right, I see you. Would your opinion have changed about your prospects if a medical physician had told you or your parents when you were less than 2 years old that your life expectancy was 25? That was the story that happened to my dad. Always cries. My dad's not the crying type when I tell this story, but when they diagnosed me as a diabetic, the doctor pulled my dad out into the hallway. So this is the 1970s, right? And he pulls my dad in the hallway and he said, you know, Mr. Stephens, your son will lead a fairly normal life till he's about 25, and then he's going to pass away due to complications with diabetes. So that was the world that I was brought into. Unlike a lot of people, even today, that still hear that message and are confused, obviously very scared by that information. My dad, and we heard it earlier in one of the presentations, my dad and my mom took it as a challenge. They made it their mission, and it's still their mission. My mom calls. If I have a headache, my mom calls in the morning and said, are you feeling all right? I still live with that today. But they made it their mission that I would never use diabetes as something to prevent me from doing anything that I wanted in my life. So let's go a little deeper into the numbers. Adult type 2 diabetes, or adult onset, is the biggest percentage. Of that 360 million that I talked about, roughly 90% is adult onset diabetes. 10% are the folks like me that have type 1. Now here's a crazy number. and this is the JDRF number. They've calculated that for diabetes direct medical treatment, people spend an average of $4,500 per year per individual. 4,500 times 360 million. Talk about your financial cliff. We're spending today $1.6 trillion in direct medical expense in treating diabetes. Next one, please. Here's the truth. This is the honest truth, and anyone that knows me, there's a few of you in the room, knows this is true. I control diabetes. Diabetes doesn't control me. What's the difference? It's an attitude. It's an attitude that, as I said earlier, I'm not going to let diabetes keep me from doing anything that I want to do in this life. Next one, please. So here's the message for you all. What can you do? Those of you that don't want to be in that 1/3 over here to my right, that don't want to be impacted by diabetes, it's actually very simple. The first one is you got to recognize the challenge in front of you, right? What is success? We mentioned it a little bit earlier. Success to me, my definition, is recognizing an opportunity in the face of an insurmountable challenge, and then here's the key piece, folks, grabbing that opportunity and acting on it. That's success. You don't have to be the winner, you just have to be willing to grab for the ball. Moving in a new direction is the key. Take responsibility. Diet. Man, you're going to hear a great presentation. The next speaker is going to tell you all about how your diet can help you. Simple things. It's fruits and vegetables. Now, I mentioned earlier that most people immediately think when I say I have diabetes that I can't drink. Keep the alcohol away from Trey. The reality is, I personally discovered about 12 years ago, red wine has no impact on my blood sugar. Now, those of you that may have diabetes or may know diabetics, please consult a physician. It's worked very well for me. It doesn't make my blood sugar go up, and more importantly, it doesn't make my blood sugar drop in the middle of the night when I sleep. So red wine really is healthy for you. Exercise. Again, those of you that have known me, I live in the gym. I go to CrossFit in the morning, I run at lunch, I mountain bike on the weekends, and I've always been that way. My dad loves to tell the story about investing over $100,000 in my tennis career from the time I was 10 until I was 15. The point is, not just for diabetes, this stuff works for all of us. Those of you that are at that age where you're going to your doctor more, your doctor's probably telling you more fruits, more vegetables, more exercise. You don't have to be an extremist like me and go to CrossFit and run and do all that stuff. Little movement is better than no movement. Any movement is better than no movement. Get active, get involved, find something you're passionate about, and start moving. Next one, please. So what have we learned? Diabetes is really, really expensive. It impacts all of us, not just the people with diabetes. Do you think your health insurance that I hope you all have has gone up as a result of all the people that have become diabetic over the last 10 years? Here's an even scarier thought. Diabetes is still growing. If you noticed, my data was 2 years old. Because of the growth of diabetes, that is truly a financial cliff. It impacts all of us. It's global. So in closing, I wanted to share a story of a friend once asked me when I started speaking about diabetes, and I've done some writing on it. They asked me, well, you know, you're making yourself out to be this one person, this lone diabetic. What would you do if you weren't diabetic? I thought about it, and then it occurred to me. Nothing that I don't already do. My name's Trey. Thank you. God bless.